If you would like to see how I craft my trash and my stash, then stick around for this playlist, Craft Your Stash, and we're doing pumpkins. So let's get into it. Well, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and if you are new, welcome to you as well. This is Christine, so let's get crafting. So I'm repurposing this sign. It came from the Dollar Tree. I bought that in Easter. And I'm using some Mod Podge multi. I'll be using a napkin, some stencil, and this Waverly crystal. So there I painted these 3 pieces. And now I'm working on the napkin. I'm using the water technique to separate the parts that I do not need. And guys, I apologize for how this sounds. I'm doing the voiceover at work, and I work close to the highway, so you hear the traffic in the background. So now that is done, I'm going to be decoupaging the napkin on top of the middle piece. So I set the two other pieces aside, and I'm just taking my Mod Podge multi and spreading that on the surface until it became tacky. Put that down, use my finger to spread it. You guys know the routine. And then once I put that down, I just use the same brush and just seal the edges. Then place the parchment paper over that and my heat press to reactivate that Mod Podge and to seal the napkin. Set that aside, and now I'm going to stencil on the upper and the lower pieces. Now I'm using paint with my stencil. I do have paste, but I chose to use the paint. But paste, you will get a better effect if you use the paste, but I also use paint sometimes when I can. So I'm using my black ink, and this is Waverly chalk paste or chalk paint, not paste, paint. And my little squeegee. I also tried the finger sponge. Whichever one gave me the best effect, that's the one that I went with. Now they're all squeegeed on. I remove the stencil, and this is what we have. Now some parts I needed a pumpkin, so I had to wash that out and put it back, and then use the orange. I think this is Pueblo to give me my pumpkin pie. One of the drawbacks with doing multiple sections on a stencil is that you have to be careful that it doesn't cross over. And if you lift it and then put it back down, then you probably have to rinse it out. And that is what I had to do. Because I lifted it and rinsed it, the stencil wasn't all that way dry, so it left a little bleeding. But that was okay because I like this look. But if you don't like this look, make sure that if you're doing your stencil with different paste or different paint, then you do it all in one sitting. So after I did that, I dried them, and now I'm adding some Mod Podge to the middle piece. Now to dirty this up a little bit. Now if this is not your style, of course you can skip this part. But I wanted to add a little dimension to these pieces just to let them pop a little bit. So I took the dry chippy brush and some antique wax and just stroking the face of the signs a little bit, and then took the finger sponge and went around the edges of the boards. To connect the 3 pieces, I flipped them over, and I'm using a piece of this fall ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I just measured the distance and then cut off what I wanted, then glued them down. But here I did not realize that I was gluing it down incorrectly, so I didn't realize that until after I was done. So I flipped it over, used some heat, and took that off, and then did it over the correct way. Here I'm adding a little greenery, so I got some boxwood pick, just cut off 2 small pieces, and a little burlap bow, glue that in the middle, and that is done, my friends. You'll see more of that in the final reveal. So this is the Craft Your Stash Challenge, a monthly challenge hosted by Tasha from Sunflower Tasha DIYs. And her guest host this month is Sun from Sun's Arts. And this month we were tasked with doing anything pumpkin. Now there is also a giveaway, and here is how you enter the giveaway. I will also post that in my description box below for you. And the price for that is a $50 Amazon gift card. So make sure that you follow the directions or the instructions on the giveaway if you would like to participate. For this one, I'm using this sign that I got from the Dollar General. I had this in my stash, some napkin and some water to soak off the paper from that. After it soaked, I scraped it off. I did that off camera, and here I'm just using a little screwdriver to remove the metal cap, bottle cap. Yes, that's a bottle cap. It was also screwed down. I made sure that I didn't lose my screws. I just taped them down on top of the metal with a piece of tape. A little piece of paper under there, I scraped that off. And now I'm going to paint with these two paints, mix them. And while I was mixing, I said, let me just try this to see if this would work. So I added some school glue to see if I would get the crackling effect. But I added it to the paint. Of course, this DIY process is all about trying out new stuff, right? New things. So here, after I mixed the paints together with my school glue intact, I just went over that with one good coat. You also want to make sure that you're moving in the same direction, not up and down motions, because you're wiping on, wiping off. The wax on, wax off effect. No, you want to go in the one direction. So I did that with my paint using the sponge dabber, went also on the outside, and now I'm adding the heat to see if I would get that crackling effect. Guys, it didn't crackle, not even a peep. So now I know that if you want crackle, do not add the glue to your paint. Add the glue directly to the surface. I decided to just go over it and give it a second coat. Why not? Just use up all the paint, because at this point it doesn't seem as if it's going to crackle. But nevertheless, I liked how the surface was very smooth. So I added that and then dried it. Next, I took my Pueblo again and a piece of sponge, and I'm just distressing the edge of the sign. So I went all the way around, just dab, dab, swipe, all the way around the board. Just like I did for the first project, I took some antique wax and a dry chippy brush, and I'm just distressing the surface of the board. I kind of like how this make the project look. Now, like as always, if this is not your style, you can definitely omit that section. So I'm pouring just a small amount of the Mod Podge. You don't need a lot for this. And a small paintbrush, and I'm just applying a small amount of the Mod Podge and just brushing it on until it becomes very tacky. Then you're going to place your napkin over that. One thing you need to make sure of though is that you have removed all of your outer ply, because if you don't, then your outer ply is going to be attached to your surface, and then your patterned side of your napkin will not. And that's the pattern, that's the side you want to get down on your project, the patterned side. So if you don't remove that outer layer, then you're going to be in problems. And we want to eliminate that. So now I'm just adding some heat. Use a parchment paper and put that on, and that is just to reactivate the Mod Podge underneath there and to seal your project. And then if you have any excess hanging off, you just use your sanding block or your emery board and file that off in a downward motion. Now for my bottle cap, I wanted to pull out that color that we have on the napkin, that olive green. So I took the rest of the Mod Podge that I had left, painted the bottle cap with that, dried it because I'm going to be painting it with some apple barrel ivy green. and I gave that 2 good coats. I applied 1 coat, dried it, and then I applied the second coat until I got the shade that I wanted. The purpose of adding the Mod Podge to the metal is to prevent your paint from lifting when you're painting it. Now after it dried, to bring back a little of the metal, I just took a piece of sandpaper and sanded down in certain sections just so I could see a little bit of the metal peeking through. And then I took the Mod Podge that remained with a brush and I'm dabbing it on. I'm not stroking it because I don't want to cause any abrasion to lift the paint. Now that was done, I dried it, of course. Now I need to embellish. I cut a piece of burlap, and I'm only going to add the burlap to just one section of the sign. So I just traced out what I wanted, cut that out, and used some hot glue to glue that down. And then I'm going to screw on back the bottle cap, so I'm just reopening the holes that were there before, and then put the bottle cap on and screwed back the screws. So if you are new to my channel or coming over from the playlist, welcome. I'm so happy you joined me today. Here on my channel, I do DIYs on a budget. If you love budget-friendly DIYs like these and you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and be sure to hit that notification bell. Hit it again and select all so YouTube notifies you whenever I upload new videos. Then I trimmed off the little piece that was hanging over, and now I'm applying the finishing touch of the Mod Podge. You also want to add a second coat to your napkin that helps to seal it, and then just dry that. And this still needed something else. I thought about adding a strip of burlap on top of the bottle cap. I didn't like how that looked, so I removed it. But it still needed something else. So I took my marker and I'm writing the word fall on top of my pumpkin. And that's about all the graphic that I'm gonna put there. Now I wanted to add a little bow. I thought of doing a messy bow. So I just cut strips of ribbons, different ribbons, and crisscrossed them, tied a piece of jute around them, and just drew that tight, tied that down at the back, added 2 little leaves that I had. I didn't do anything to those leaves. And that is it for this one, guys. Glue down my bow and that's it. Now this one is so easy. This is like a hack. I wouldn't say this is a DIY, but you know, I had this maple syrup bottle in my trash. Well, not in the trash. I saved it because I thought the bottle looked so cute. So I'm turning this into a pumpkin. So I'm using 2 different color orange paint, my Pueblo, and I think the other one is some plastic paint. And I'm mixing them together, just pouring in small amounts in the bottle. Added a little water to that, shook it up quite a bit until the paint was distributed all around the bottle. So if you noticed my voiceover sound a little different, that's because I was able to finish when I got home. So I started at work and completed it. Well, actually this morning, because this is now Saturday, I completed it this morning. And I hope you are all having a restful weekend. And then I drained it. And when that drained, I took a piece of paper towel and wiped off the mouth or the rim of the bottle, and then took a piece of jute cord, and I'm going to wrap that around. So I glued down the end and then just continued wrapping until I got to almost the top of the bottle cover. I made a messy bow to glue that right there, but I thought this needed something else. So I took some white paint, painted out that little middle section, giving it 2 good coats with the acrylic white paint, drying in between each layer. And I had this napkin in my stash, I'm going to decoupage that right on top of the white that I just painted. So I laid the napkin on top of the surface, used the perforating tool just to indicate where I needed to cut. Decoupaged the napkin on and then remove the excess. And this is what it looks like when I was done. Next, I found this little piece of metal strip. I took a pencil, wrapped it around the pencil a couple times, and this is going to be my twirly twirly at the top of my peduncle, which is the neck of the bottle. So I wrapped that around a few times and just stuck it inside the jute cord that was already there. I glued on the messy bow, glued on the two little leaves. I found a raffia bow and glued that on top, and this one is complete. And here comes the final reveal. Now guys, let me know which one of these trash or stash DIY was your favorite today. Don't forget to check out Tasha's channel as well as Sun's channel and the playlist that's filled with a lot of inspiration on pumpkin DIYs for you. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you consider subscribing before you leave. And if you love budget-friendly content like this, I suggest this video right here or this playlist. And don't forget, Jesus loves you and so do I. Stay safe, my friends, until my next one.